statement, come out, go in, come in. That's not retirement.
Yeah.
It's a layoff.
Wait, before we get into this, I hear we have some very good news.
Well, I just want to let everybody know I got a nationally syndicated radio show in 250 markets across the United States of America.
Kind of a big
Carried on ESPN Radio and the ESPN channel on Sirius XM channel 80 every weekday from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah.
I just got picked up in Houston.
H-Town.
H-Town.
Shut it down.
It debuts in Houston today. It started in San Antonio last week. West Palm Beach, where my cuz lives in the sunshine. My cuz can hear me directly down the whole bit. So you know what?
They want to hear you. What channel do they? Where do they tune in?
Channel 80, Sirius XM, plus ESPN Radio. Check your local
what time?
listeners, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say to San Antonio, West Palm Beach, and especially H-Town, here I come.
So you're talking about 10 to noon Pacific.
Excuse me, yes.
Yeah.
Right. It's 1 to 3 Eastern, 10 to noon Pacific.
That's right.
Okay, got it.
And he does a Love Doctor segment, and I'm waiting for
Occasionally they ask to love.
I want to help the people. They need a female.
Get on out of him to love Doctor.
All right. So the McGregor-Mayweather rematch may happen in a UFC octagon at some point. Stephen A., what will it take for Floyd to fight in the UFC?
Let me say this. Floyd knows how I feel about this, along with Leonard Ellaby and others. I don't believe he has any business in the octagon. Floyd didn't want to get hit when he was boxing. He damn sure don't want to get hit in the octagon. And the chances of him getting hit in the octagon are going to elevate exponentially because obviously they don't have to just punch you. They can kick you, elbow you, strangle you. They can do all of that stuff. I don't like it one bit, okay? And I think he should stay the hell away from the sport. Having said all of that, I must say this, and this ties in with Conor McGregor. I was appalled by what I saw from Conor McGregor last week, his actions at the Barclays Center. It was just belligerent, just hooliganism. It had no place in the world of professional sports anywhere, to be honest with you, for that matter. And how he conducted himself, I thought he should have been ashamed of himself.
Do you think that was real?
Let me finish.
Okay.
I thought he should have been ashamed of himself. Then I watched Floyd Money Mayweather with Jim Gray. And I said, wait a minute. I smell something. Something seems a bit fishy.
No, money is
okay. I smelled something. And you know what I said to myself? I said, excuse me, this is a pugilistic sport. As reprehensible as we may deem those actions to be, as Max Kellerman is far more of an expert than I to attest to, there are far more egregious acts that have been committed by individuals in pugilistic sports like Mike, you know, the Mike Tyson thing and all of this other stuff. And we all know that they still fought. So I'm thinking, Floyd talking about money because he's thinking 9 figures. Floyd, who else? He ain't getting in the ring with that kid Khabib or anybody like that. If Floyd gonna make 9 figures for the UFC,
I've been trying to tell people about him.
There's a lot to discuss.
If Floyd is gonna fight anybody, it's gotta be Conor McGregor. And so I said, you know what, this. And the next day, Floyd got the press conference. I mean, not the press conference, but he's getting interviewed by Jim Gray. Oh, that's what they're talking about here. That's what this is about as far as I'm concerned. It's what I believe.
First of all, about Conor McGregor's behavior.
Yeah.
We can do all the hand-wringing we want and talk about hooliganism and how it's bad. And Dana White even said here on ESPN, and Get Up said, you know, it's an embarrassment for the sport, etc. And I believe him when he says that. Except that part of McGregor's appeal is obviously that he's the bad boy, right? So this, you know, the whole point is the people live vicariously through the bad boy unless they're rooting for his demise, right? So half the people are rooting for him to get beaten, and the same goes for Floyd. And the other half who are living vicariously like it when they don't. They're not kind of binded by the rules that bind the rest of us, bound by the rules that bind the rest of us, right? Their behavior is not restricted in the same way that the rest of ours is. They can act on impulse, and so people actually gravitate toward Conor McGregor, at least at the box office, when he behaves that way. Now, and the same thing goes for Floyd. Not that he behaves the way Conor did, but when Floyd will say something outlandish or flaunt his money, etc. Now, look. The UFC, it's not a secret, has been making overtures to major fighters in terms of getting into boxing in a big, big way.
Right.
So when Floyd says he was going to fight in the octagon if he fights again, that's one thing. But when he says he's going to fight for the UFC if he fights again, that doesn't necessarily mean he ain't going to be boxing. Now, that might be in the octagon.
Explain what that means.
Okay. If he fights Conor McGregor, the idea that he would have just a no-holds-barred or like an MMA fight, in the UFC in the octagon against Conor McGregor with straight MMA rules is ridiculous to contemplate.
Yeah.
Because it takes literally, it's disrespectful to MMA the way I was saying Conor's challenge of Mayweather is disrespectful to boxing. Those who thought Conor was actually going to beat Floyd Mayweather, or even really compete. Floyd obviously wasn't in tip-top shape. He walked McGregor down and stopped him. The point is, it takes years to become expert enough to get in that octagon and at least stop your opponent from isolating one of your limbs and hyperextending a joint till you tap out, like an elbow or a knee, or choking you out, choking your wind, as you mentioned. It takes years to do that. So under what circumstances would Floyd fight Conor McGregor in the octagon? They would have to have some rules like the first X number of rounds, it's stand up, you can only hit with your fists, something like that. Otherwise, would anyone think Floyd has a chance?
Hold on, wait a minute. I'm sorry to interject. To me, that would seem more disrespectful to the sport than you alluded to. If you're telling me, if I'm a UFC fighter, all right, you got to remember, when Conor McGregor walked into the boxing ring against Floyd, he had 8-ounce gloves, all right, and he had to box. But, you know, he had to apply boxing rules. For Floyd to go into the UFC, into an octagon, but then not have to abide by the rules of being in an octagon, I think that's the ultimate disrespect to the UFC. The ultimate disrespect.
And do you think people, UFC fans who'd be outraged by that,
yes, I do,
would be more or less likely to purchase?
Less.
More.
More, Stephen A., because at least Floyd would have a chance then.
Let me tell you what, can I give you my thought about that?
Go ahead.
I believe that Floyd has a better chance, hear me out here, a better chance in the UFC than Conor ever had in boxing. Do you know why? I'm not talking about against a UFC fight. I'm talking about against Conor specifically. Because even though I know Conor is ultra skilled, Conor is a knockout artist. So he's not looking to choke you out, hyperextend the elbow or limbs or anything like that. He's looking to knock you out. I am saying to you that even though I think Floyd would lose inside a minute, okay, what I'm saying is that I think that Conor will go in there trying to knock him out. And Floyd's belief
how to take him down, though.
I know he does. I'm saying you can resort to that. But the preference would be to knock him out. You're in because remember, if Conor falls in a boxing ring, you got to get up in 10 seconds. You got to get up in 10 seconds. Oh, no. You can get dropped in the octagon. They still got to come and finish you.
So Floyd 10 rounds to knock him down in their fight.
So if you're Conor, the whole thing is, if you're Floyd, rather, the whole thing is, this guy is going to try to knock me out. I'm wearing 4-ounce gloves when I'm accustomed to wearing 10-ounce gloves. I'm going to take him out first. That's the thinking. No, in no other category.
There's an old expression in boxing.
I'm only talking about punching.
There's an old expression in boxing. Win today, look good next time. Conor goes into the octagon with Floyd. He's not going to worry about trying to prove to Floyd he can knock him out standing up. In order to achieve on Conor's level, I don't care how well-known you are for striking, you have to be proficient at the ground game. You have to know how to stay out of holds and put people into submission holds. Floyd would be off his feet in 20 seconds and tapped out in 30.
And I don't believe that. You want me to tell you why I don't believe that? Because I believe that Conor would want to knock him out and choke him out. That's all.
Boy, you're banking a whole lot on that. Boy, you're banking a whole lot on that.
It has to be yes, no, because Brian's going to kill me because I'm extending this. Is he ducking Nurmagomedov? Is Conor ducking him?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think so, too.
All right, we'll leave it there.
I didn't want to put it like ducking, but if you ask me yes or no, I have to say
thank you. Woutani, the Angels' newest superstar, dominating baseball, but don't miss who thinks Giancarlo Stanton's problems are the bigger story. And did Russell Westbrook take a shot at his former teammate James Harden? We'll explain when First Take rolls on.
I'm not this way because I'm